Okay, so good morning once again. So, what we covered in the last session? So, the last session we discussed more about while loop. So, we discussed how to use while loop. And then, with the combination of while loop, so we also understood continuous statement and break statement how to use. And then the infinite loop how to use using with the while, right? We discussed that. So, we'll see today for loop. So, I told for loop we are using only for iterations in Python. So let me open PyCharm. So I'm trying to create a new script file, new, and then go to Python file and Day11 underscore script. Okay, so first we'll see the syntax here, how to write, right? So the for loop syntax is very simple. For say it's not like programming language. Programming language generally we write a condition, something first initialization, and then we write a condition, something like this, and then we write increment I plus plus. So this is how we write in a programming language. Right? This is how we write in a programming language. But in Python, so it's like for and then variable name in, and then we write here some iterable object and then statements. Okay. And here continuation of the program. So here there is no condition. Try to understand iterable object we provide, and we know what are the iterable objects available. We discussed in the last session. From this iterable object, it will pick one value and then it display that. And then it will go and pick the next iterable value and then it assigns to the variable and it display. And then it will pick next value, it assigns to the variable and it display. It keep on repeats like that. Okay, so what are the iterable objects available? We actually discussed in the last session. If you see here, iterable objects, iteration, and non-iterable objects we discussed. So this is a iterable objects and non-iterable objects here. Let me copy that for our understanding here. And then also note, the note is here, for loop accepts only iterable object. Okay. In Python, again, if you are using maybe different languages, I'm not talking about other languages. I'm talking about only Python at this moment. Okay, so now based on this syntax, let's say for example, I want to print 1 to 10 using with for loop. And then I'm writing for I in 10, okay? And then print, yeah, print I. So tell me here anyone in the chart, what will be the output if I use this now? So I'm actually expecting I want to print 1 to 10. And then based on that, we observed the syntax, we understood how to use the syntax. And then I'm just writing for I in 10 and then printing. So what will be the output? What is your guess? Anyone here? Just type in the chart. Yeah. Only 10. Okay. How about others? 0 to 9. Okay. Okay. So different outputs I see here. Prasad said 10, Sweta 0 to 9, Damodar only 0, Divya only 10. So for one example, this many different outputs are we getting? Or maybe my explanation wrong. I don't know. Generally asking. So should be same output, right, from everyone. Syntax wrong. What is that syntax wrong here? Syntax, what we discussed for variable name in, then value, and then I'm printing it. That is fine. There is no syntax issue. Okay, so now see here. Last session I explained again. Today also we discussed. What is that? I'm clearly mentioning that in the note point also I just told that for loop accepts only iterable object. For loop accepts only iterable objects in Python. And also we discussed what are the iterable objects available, what are the non-iterable objects available in Python. Last session we discussed. Today again we discussed. And also syntax I mentioned here clearly. For variable name in, it should be a iterable object. Now if you see the example for I in 10, 10 is an integer value and integer value is not iterable. If it is not iterable, we will get runtime error saying that int is not iterable. See, type error. This is a runtime error. It's not a syntax error because based on the syntax, we provided proper what? The structure or whatever, like, the code, whatever we are writing based on the syntax only we are writing. The same syntax we are following. This example. But the problem is what? The problem not with the syntax, the problem with the value which we provided. So we know the value should be iterable object. But I provided here non-iterable object. So if I provide non-iterable object, it's a type error. Int object is non-iterable. Int object is not iterable, right? Iteration is not possible now. Getting my point? Am I audible? Internet having some issues. I don't know from 2 days. Yesterday also I faced some issues. Am I audible now? Can you confirm everyone? Okay. So be clear whenever if you are using for loop, many times we'll get a confusion here. In Python, for loop is more and more and more and more important. Many times we use, the reason is we work with multiple times list, tuple, dictionaries, right? Sets concept. These all concepts actually what? Iterable objects, we keep on use this for loop to display the values from there. So that is the only reason I'm just saying multiple times about these iterable, non-iterable concepts here. And also I just, for your understanding only, I mentioned this in the note point. For loop, it accepts only iterable object. And then this example, we clearly understood that this is a 10. It's not iterable. So type error we got int object is not iterable. But our expectation is simple. Our expectation is what? I want to print 1 to 10. No matter what object you use here, but I need output 1 to 10. But Python is not giving that if I provide 10. Then what is the solution? The solution here, there is a function, built-in function called range. So what is the range function? Range is a function in Python 3. Just let's say if I write range of 10, internally it understands 0, comma 10. So means it is just like it's just taking something 0, comma 10. And then the range between now 0 to 10, always it excludes this last value. So what we observed, like whenever if you are accessing some index value, either from string or something, slicing if you are doing, it will always exclude that last value, right? So here 0, comma 10 means it will actually starts from 0 and then the values it will print till 9. But you cannot directly use range of 10 to display 0 to 9 value. It should be with combination for loop. So means if I'm giving range of 10 and then this range function is giving iteration for this value 10, that is actually 0 to 9. It's like kind of tuple and then it'll get the value. So instead of writing 10, I'm just giving range of 10. So if I write range of 10, as I told now, this range function is actually what behaving now here for the value 10 as a iteration. But it starts from 0. We just observed range of 10. It is just starting from 0. Until 10, that means 0 to 9 only it will print. Now you can see the output. It just printed here 0 to 9. Okay, so but our expectation again, it's not the 0 to 9. So our expectation is what? 1 to 10. So what we need to do here? Then I'm just trying to comment this. And you can write this using with what? 1 comma, say range 1 comma. I want to print from 1. Then I'm just taking 11, which means what? 11, it actually exclude. The output, it starts from 1. 1 to 10, it will print now. So save it and then run it. Now you can see the output 1 to 10, it is printing here. So with the help of range function, we can print that. Okay, now if you see, string is iterable, right? String is iterable, list is iterable, tuple is iterable. These all are iterable objects. You can directly use, let's say for example, I have a string x equal to Python. And when I print this x value, print x, it is printing just Python as it is, right? It is just printing Python as it is. But I don't want to print Python as it is. I want to print each and every character one by one. And then you can use for loop. For here any name, okay, I'm just using randomly I. It can be your name also. Or it can be any other name. Let's say for A in X. What is X here? X is a string value, Python. And then I'm trying to print this A. So since a string is iterable, what this for loop is doing now, it is reading this X value, trying to print each and every character one by one. Now, if I execute this, now I can see it is printing Python. So what is the first value here, Python? The first value, Python, since we actually used print X, it printed the complete value. And then later we used for loop, and for loop is actually what trying to get each and every value one by one. with iteration here. Getting my point? So this is how you can use string value. But let's say now, for example, in this string, I don't want to print T. I don't want to print T. Okay, so you can use simply what? See now, you can use simply continue statement. See, this is a, okay, so this is the code. And then I'm just trying to print only for loop I'm using. I don't want to print T. So if a value, if it is equal to T character, and then what? Just write continue. So we know what is continue. Continue, it will pick the next iteration. So this is not actually a while loop, right? So there is no specific, there is no condition here. So what continue will do, it will just go and start the next iteration. But if you're writing a while loop, then you need to think on increment, decrement operators, and then it should be properly how to write this continue, we should know. But here it is very simple logic. So only thing is the print statement should write after continue. And then once the continue matches, it will simply go and pick the next iteration. So here first it will print P, then Y, and then Y after Y, T. So T equal to T, continue is executing. It is sending execution back to the for loop, and then immediately it will pick the next value H. H equal to T false, and then it will print H, which means what? Except T, remaining all the values it is printing. Similarly, you can use for even, you can use for the for loop here 1 to 11, right? So that means 1 to 10. Let's say I want to skip only one value 5. So if I value is equal to 5. So this is a numeric value. You don't need to keep that 5 in quotes. And then what? Continue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say I want to skip even 7 also. Just you can write or I value equal to 7. So either 5 or 7, both it will skip. See, 5 it skipped, 7 also it skipped. But instead of continue, if I use break statement, what happens? So break statement for, let's say if I write 5, and then if I use break statement, if 5 matches automatically, it terminates. That means only the values it prints here, 1 to 4. You can see only 1 to 4 it is printing. Is what exactly. And for loop, as I told, it is more important when we work with something list and all, right? So let's say I'm writing something, one list here, and my list equal to some values. We write between a square bracket. So we'll start anyway, list concept. So here if I write something 10, comma 20, comma 30, comma 40. And when we use print my list, it just prints this my list as it is. This is what actually the print function which we just used, right? Okay, so let me run. You can see 10, 20, 30, 40 it is printed. But I want to print one by one. So for I in my list, print I. What is this for loop iteration? Iteration from this my list, it will pick first value, print it. Then second value printed, then third value printed, then fourth value. One by one it is printed. So 10, next line 20, next line 30, next line 40. See the use of for loop here. Iteration, it is iterating each and every value. So this is what you can use for loop. I hope it is clear now how to use for loop. Any questions? Just type C if it is clear. Okay. So only important thing for loop here, we are using only for iteration, not for the condition. So iteration means you should know iterable object. Otherwise, it will not work, right? Okay, so coming back here. So the variables concept we discussed. So somewhere we actually discussed about the variables. What are the different types of variables available? So day 3 we discussed that. So types of variables, numbers and Boolean strings and collections again here, right? So if you observe here, like the integer value or float value you can define as a numbers like I equal to 10, something k equal to 2.5 like that. Boolean is actually true or false, but strings again having some, so means like in the strings again we have multiple things. So strings, basically we have single quoted string, okay? How to write single quoted string? Of course we know like this we write. And double quoted string also we have, right? So double quoted string, we actually use double quotes. And there is no difference between single quotes and double quotes in Python. Try to remember this in other programming languages. For example, wherever, like for example, let's say, okay, for our understanding, I'm using PowerShell. So maybe if you know Windows PowerShell, it's a Microsoft scripting language, like shell scripting, how we are using for Linux automation. The same way, all Microsoft products you can automate using with PowerShell easily. We need only commandlets. So the commandlets means it's like a commands in Linux. Everything, even for Windows, it introduced multiple commands. Instead of doing everything in GUI, you can use just CUI with the commands and then you can automate either Windows administration part or any Microsoft related products like tools from SCCM to even any other Microsoft products, they can simply automate like Azure Cloud as well, right? Multiple things you can do with this language, but here what I'm trying to explain, comparing with Python, one thing I want to explain. So I am just in Windows PowerShell terminal. You can directly execute any like a how we actually used interactive mode. The similar way you can execute directly here in this prompt. Or there is a PowerShell, Windows PowerShell. You can see there is a PowerShell ISE. ISE is nothing but integrated scripting environment. So you can also use this to write PowerShell scripts. From here also we can write. But what I'm trying to explain this now. So let's say, for example, if I define some variable, okay, so how we can define here? We use something dollar symbol, dollar $a equal to 10. I'm just defining a variable. So this is a variable declaration here in PowerShell. And then print function, we use write hyphen host. This is actually print function. So like how we are using print in Python, similar way in PowerShell, we are using write hyphen host. And then $a is a variable name. So it is printing the value. Let me compare here, even Python. So I'm going to the Python interactive mode. And then I just define a value. And then I'm just using print of a. Okay. Value is 10. So this is same. Comparing with other language, Python also same. But where is the difference? The difference is here. If I write double quotes in other programming languages for the variable name, this is called, say, I'm actually using double quotes for the variable name. Maybe the reason I want to print like this, the value of A is $A. This is absolutely fine. You can see the value of A is 10. It is printing here proper output, the variable substitution. So this variable substitution here, the value of A is $A. If I write double quotes, it is giving the value substitution, the variable substitution, that is 10. But in Python, if I write the same thing, the value of A is A. And then what it understands everything as a text and then it will give as it is. So there is no interpolation in Python. Interpolation is nothing but getting the variable substitutions between a double quotes. Almost all the languages have this interpolation by default. That means you can substitute any variable between a double quotes. Here is the example. Practically we saw that. And similar way, when we use single quote it prints as it is in every language, which means what? Whatever you write between a single quote, it will print as it is, like a text. So I defined this variable name between a single quote in PowerShell, it is printing as it is. There is a lot of difference, right? So double quotes is giving value, variable substitution, single quote, it is printing as it is. But in Python, if you observe, there is no difference between single and double quotes. It actually prints both same. The value of A is A. The value of A is A, even double quotes and single quotes. So there is no interpolation here. So for this reason, we came with one concept actually, that is a F string. So use F, and then for the variable, you should use curly bracket. Then it will print the variable substitution. And it can be either single or double quotes again. You can use even for single quotes also, it will print. So try to understand what I'm trying to say, that there is no difference between single and double quotes in Python. So don't think that double quotes, if you are using, you'll get a variable substitution like other languages. Most of the time we'll get a confusion if you are already know other language. Otherwise, no problem. So if you already know some other programming language, then confusion here. So I hope this is clear now. So if you see here, how to get a variable substitution, simple, you can use simply like F string and then get the substitution. So this is now something like a interpolation. If it is no difference, then what is the reason we are discussing this single quotes, double quotes? So sometimes what happens, see here, when you write something string, maybe we use like this. Let's say some value x equal to, I know how to use chart GPT. I'm just writing something. This is one string. Print x, then there is a fine. This is fine actually. Like it, you can see the output. I know how to use chart GPT. It is printing. Everything fine, single quote, or maybe you can provide double quotes, no matter. Both are same. But when the problem comes, let's say I'm just writing here like this. I don't know how to use ChatGPT. I'm just writing, I don't know. Again, no problem here. We are getting output. But when the problem comes, if you write, there is a quoting rule here, okay? Quoting rules. If you write single quotes between single quotes, not accept. Double quotes between double quotes, not accept. Single quotes between double quotes, it accepts. And double quotes between single quotes also it accepts. If you observe here in our code, double quotes between, we provided a single quote after DON. There is a quote actually, right? See, it accepted because we defined between a double quotes. As per the quoting rule, double quotes between single quote, it accepts. Right? It accepted here. Now, I'm just writing the same thing again. Single quotes, so single quotes here and attains single quote. Okay, started with one single quote, ended with one single quote. There is a one more quote here, right? It will give you syntax error. There is a syntax error. So what is the actually syntax rule? Single quotes between single quote, not accept. Then how it accepts? So whenever if you are writing this type of strings, you should be careful. Like you should use separator, and then separator is actually what we know what is backslash, and it's a new line. So n is a character, but I don't want to print this as n. I want to print this as a new line. So we provided some separator, and then original behavior n, not printing. It is treating this as a new line. Similar way, we are avoiding that original character behavior, which means I don't want to treat this as a single quote. Just treat this as a normal text at this moment here. So separator we provided. Similar way, for the double quotes also, you can use this with one separator. Now this is accepts, and here it accepts. Now see, I'm going to use this here, one separator, and then try to execute and see the result. Now you can see I don't know how to use ChatGPT. So here it is giving single quote starting, last single quote, actually what treating as a string, but in between this quote is printing as a normal text. Okay, so you can try like this. Like for example, I said, and then again I'm writing I know Python, something I'm writing. Print Y. So double quotes between double quotes problem. Here one separator, here another separator. So starting double quotes, ending double quotes required, but in between any double quotes, separator is required like this. Okay, so this is a quoting rules. And string is iterable. We observed that you can use for loop. We discussed that we can use for loop, and then it prints character by character from the string. But whenever if you are using string, if you want to access only one specific character, so here we just observed string is iterable object. Also we know string is immutable. We cannot actually modify anything from this string object. Means inside the string, any character if you want to modify, you cannot modify, you cannot replace. But you can access any specific character. So we can access the we can access any character from the string using with the index, okay, or reverse index. So generally index starts from 0, okay, index starts with 0, and reverse index it's -1. What it is actually. So now for example, see, assume I have a string like this, x equal to, I'm just writing x equal to something AWS, okay. So x equal to AWS, and if you print just x, it will print the complete string AWS. But I don't want to print the complete string. I want to print only one character from here. And then it is something like this, A, then W, and then S. And when you provide an index, it actually use that index here. So the index number here, the first one is 0, and then 1, and then 2. So this is actually what starts with 0. So 0, 1, and then 2. Or reverse index, this is a -1, or we also call it as a negative index, then -2 and -3. That means if I want to print only just W, you can use index number 1, or you can also use reverse index -2. And this is the same concept for next coming concepts. For list, we use same concept. For tuple, we use same concept. If you are clear about this indexing now, and then in the list and tuple, it will be very easy to understand this. Okay. Okay, now if you see here, I want to print W. I want to print W here. And for W, either you can use index number 1 or reverse index number -2, right? Let's see this now. I'm just writing one string here, something x equal to Python. As of now, what we understood, if you want to print the complete string, either for loop you can use, or you can use directly the variable name, and then it prints this, right? Both we understood. So this is directly printing, and then one is using with what? Using with for loop. But now I want to print only the first character, or maybe only last character. So print x of 0, print x of -1. See, if the first character is 0 and last character is what? -1. So between a square bracket, we provide that index. Now you can see the first character is P, last character is -1 means N. I want to print T. So 0, 1, 2. Index number is 2. So x of 2. So when we use x of 2, it is printing only T here. But can I use here something print x of 22? There is no syntax issue here. This is how we are using syntax. You can provide any index number, but there will be a runtime error now. The runtime error is what? Index error. What is that index error? String index out of range. You are using 22, but 22 index is not available here. So it will give you error. And then if there is any continuation of the program, it will not execute this now. The reason is what? The error at fifth line, and it will stop the execution here at the fifth line immediately. But this all lines it executed because no error found, and then it started execution. At the time of execution, the fifth line having runtime error. This is runtime happening this, right? So PNT printed, but runtime error here. So this type of errors I told already, you can use exception handling to handle. We'll discuss that how to use exception handling later. It required maybe more 5 sections to go there. Okay. So at this moment, what is the solution? The solution is first you should know the length of this string. So whenever if you're trying to access any index, what is the first step you need to know? What is the length of this string? Let's say if length is 10, you can apply range of 10. What is range of 10? 0 to 9. Indexes you can use only 0 to 9. Or if you get length, we will get idea, okay, this is what the total length, and then indexes only you can use between this range. That is how we can decide. So len is a built-in function, like how we are using print function, similar way len is a built-in function. You can use len to get the length. See, now I'm writing like this, f string, total length. Length of x is, you can write here between a curly bracket, even function you can execute len of x. So len of x, it will give you the total length. Now you can see the total length of x is 6. So indexes you can use only 0 to 5. So now index number, I'm trying to use 5 here. What will be the output? 5 means n. It is print. And there is a concept here, slicing, or simply we can say one portion of the string I want to print. So slicing is actually what part of the string or portion of the string. Assume that I have a Python script instead of just Python. I want to print from here, instead of printing complete string, I want to print only Python. So print x of, from where I want to print from 0. We put colon here. So what is this colon? Colon is something like a range now for the indexes. So I want to start from 0th index till where you want to print. I want to print 0, which is P, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is actually n. But when I use 0 colon 5, this is same again like range of 10 what we observed. Range of 10 if you are using it is actually accepting what 0 to 9. Last one it always excludes. Similar way, when we use 0 colon 5, 5 is excluding now. It will print only 0 to 4. What it means, it will print 0th index, first index, second index, third index, fourth index. 0th index P, first index Y, second index T, third index H, fourth index is O. Only P, Y, T, H, O it will print now. Because always the last index it excludes when you use this range like this. There is a slicing. So based on that, you should know if you want to print really Python, PYTHON, then you need to write the index number here 6, 0 colon 6. Then you can see the expected result. I'm using print x of, let's say 0 colon minus 1. You can use this. What it means, starts from 0, exclude minus 1. That means PYTHON space SCRIP. It will print till here. Assume from this range, I want to print every second character. You can use one more colon, then 2. So what is the meaning now? The meaning here, 0 colon minus 1 means print this part. -1 is excluding. But in this range, don't print every character, print only every second character. So means it will print P, it will print T, it will print O, then it will print space like that. Every second character it is printing now. So let's try to execute and see. See this P, T, O, then space, then C, then I like that. So this is specific characters like I'm trying to print in this range, only this specific character. Let's say if I use something x of 0 colon and then just I want to print from using 0 colon all the complete string. So what it means, starts from 0 till the last character I want to print. You may think why this is required. You can use directly print x. Yes, that is correct. But what is the use of 0 colon? Why we are using here? I want to use this. I want to print here after this every second character. Means from the entire string, I want to print only every second character. See? So the previous one, we provided a something range 0 to -1. But now I want every character, but only every second character from the entire string. You can write, let's say now I want every third character from 0th index. See, it is printing PH space RT. So this is a slicing part. So just type C here if it is clear about this indexing. Because the same concept it will repeat again in the list and tuple as well. Okay. Okay, so now for every variable whatever we are using, I told in Python in the source code level it is actually one class. Int is a class, float is a class, str is a class, list is a class, tuple is one class, right? Everything it's a class. That's the reason Python everything it's object based. So what is that object base we discussed already? You can go through that old recordings, maybe you'll get idea. It creates object every time under that specific class, and then based on that object, it creates a reference of that. Now, str is a class. This is actually string class. And this class has some methods. Now, as of now, we keep on used actually now, just len also we used. Len is a built-in function. You can use this len for list, you can use this len for tuple to get the total length, not only for string. It's a common built-in function, right? It's a common built-in function to get the length. So this is like, for example, assume you stay at one community and assume there are something 500 villas in this community. So every villa is independent. But all these 500 villas having one clubhouse. In the clubhouse, actually, there are a lot of amenities. Maybe assume I'm just taking one amenity, there is a swimming pool. So this swimming pool access for everyone here. Means all 500 villas can access this, right? Just a simple understanding, I'm right. 500 villas can access. So this is a common now for everyone. It's like a function now. It's like a one function. The functions can use anywhere. But assume this villa one people, they have their own swimming pool as well. It's not the common one. They have their own swimming pool as well. Now tell me, who can access this Villa 1 swimming pool? Is it everyone or only Villa 1? Who can access this Villa 1 swimming pool now if they have their own swimming pool? Yes, please. Villa 1 having own swimming pool, who can access that? Only Villa 1, right? Because they created for their security purpose. Maybe sir, there are some other reasons. They don't want to go and use this. Similar way here, when I say string method, these methods only you can use for strings. You cannot use for list, you cannot use for tuple. Len is a common function, you can use everywhere. You can use for string, you can use for list, you can use for tuple. But string methods only for strings you can apply. List methods only for list you can apply. Tuple methods only for tuple you can apply. Dictionary methods only for dictionary. So means we are giving some restrictions and then only accessing that particular specific variable related. But internally what it is actually class. str is a class. String class has string methods. And then what exactly the word about these functions and methods. So what is this actually? The function, for example, in C programming languages, right? We actually call it as a function. Or we also call it as something procedures. Or we also call it as subroutines. All are same one. The name is different, but I'm talking about just name function, but it is same, like procedures is same, subroutine also same. And then methods. So what exactly the difference between these two? Here Python, it is both procedure oriented as well as object oriented. As of now, if you observe everything I'm writing here, the entire code, almost more than 10 days, entire code we are using just with procedure oriented. I never touched any class statement anywhere. But if you use Java program, even if you want to print hello world, we actually required class statement for that, right? Or maybe C++, Java, these are languages. So there are two categories. One is procedure oriented, other one is object oriented. This object oriented programming language is more popular for web application developments. The reason is more security, more flexibility, more reusability, scalability, whatever the name you say, then it will be there for that. Generally for application level, what you feel that is possible with object-oriented programming, the backend to develop. But Python, what it says, okay, Python is object-oriented, but assume that you are actually working as an administrator. You are working as a Linux administrator. Maybe you are working as a cloud administrator. why object-oriented programming is required for you to automate that your environment. For example, if you want to automate Linux, what is required? Linux commands required, and then you should know how to use that Linux commands in a script file to automate that instead of just using object-oriented. What is the use of object-oriented there? Whatever the commands I am executing manually, I don't want to execute manually the commands one by one. I want all the commands to execute using with maybe Python now or maybe shell scripting. If you see the shell script totally pure procedure oriented programming. There is no object oriented concepts in shell scripting. Shell script is what? To automate Linux administration. You can use Python also to automate Linux administration only with what, if you know two modules I said, like OS module or subprocess module, like that. Generally, the basic level automation I'm saying. There is no object-oriented programming involved. So most of the platform related you can automate using with what? Python with procedure-oriented programming concepts, but with the help of modules. But the same Python we also use for web development, web application development. That is actually with object-oriented programming. So if you see here internally, every variable, when I say something string, str is actually class, right? Str is a class, I told. Internally, the source code, everything what, it's a class. Now, whenever if you use procedure-oriented functions, it comes to the picture. Whenever if you are using object-oriented methods, it comes to the picture. Which means functions we are actually using in procedure-oriented level. There is no class statement, nothing here. Method, it's completely object-oriented programming. Class is required for this. But at this moment, we are not using any class statement because str itself is a class. But internally, how they define that is different story. But inside that class, whatever the functions they define, that we call it as a method. Okay, so the functions like print is a function. len is a function. id is a function. These are all functions. Type is a function. Now coming to the method is specific to the what? Either string method or list method or something, the specific class. Like as I told, only for Villa1 that is accessible for, it's a Villa1 property, can access by Villa1 people. Similarly here, methods, let's say if you are talking about string method, only for the strings you can access that. So here some differences if you see, functions we define in procedure-oriented programming. POP I'm writing, there is a procedure-oriented program. Okay, so this is methods we write in object-oriented. For your understanding, I'm just writing very layman level, okay? And functions we can call directly with the function name. So you no need actually the name here, like something. See how we are executing. If I define something a value 10, print you can directly write type of a. That means what function you can directly call it type of a. But methods we cannot call directly. Why? Need one reference object for this. We need one reference object. So how we are calling methods? Methods we can call using with the reference object. So what is that reference object? This is the reason I'm keep on saying Python, everything it's object based. When you create any variable, let's say x equal to Python, internally it created object for this already. Where it created object under string class. How it knows? It verified that Everything it is taken care by Python. It already verified, it decided, okay, this is a string, and then just create object under string class. But for us, X itself is an object now. So means X is a variable name, but technically this X is an object. This X is a reference object. Whenever if you are accessing this value, everything we are doing using with X. For us, it's a variable, but technically it's a reference object. So whenever if you are trying to access any string method, always this object reference is important. So means X dot, then the method name. For what? For string class, for string methods. Otherwise, it will not work. See now, for example, X, I just defined Python. And then you cannot directly access something like, let's say I want to convert this as uppercase. There is a method called upper. You cannot use upper of X. There is not a function now. So what is the syntax now? The syntax is like this. Object, reference object name dot upper. See the syntax? Syntax is object name dot method name. So function syntax is what? Function of directly function name you can use, or maybe sometimes if it is required argument, you can provide that argument here, whatever the argument it is. But here for the method, you cannot directly call the method. What is required? Reference object, or simply I'm writing object name dot method, or object name dot method name of some argument. So this is syntax. So now, as I told, str is a class. Str has some methods. How to get that methods? It's very simple. Go to the interactive mode, type dir of str. Dir is actually Python function. It's not a DOS command because I am executing in the interactive mode. Dir of str, okay? Dir of str. So dir of str, if you see, it will give you all the str methods. Ignore these underscores, but just concentrate from here to here. These are actually what? String methods. There is a method called upper, just now I told. What is this method? Let's say now I have a string and I want to convert that string into uppercase. So x equal to Python. And then convert this into uppercase. X dot upper. See, it converted already. But this method you can only use for what? String class. Because this is a string object. X is a string object. And an object name dot upper you can use. But let's say same x1 equal to, if I create this in a list format, there is a list object now. You cannot use x1 dot upper. Attribute error. List object has no attribute upper. This method is not available in the list. How it is understanding? This is what I told. It is internally creating object every time based on what class it is. Now, if you check this type of x is string. Type of x1 is list. So this is a string class. This is a list class. This villa is different. This villa is different. You cannot access the property from here to here. How we know what are the properties available? You need to check dir of str. Similar way dir of list. There are list properties here. Getting my point. So this is actually more important concept whenever if you are using Python. You should know how to check all the property. You don't need to by heart here. That is only advantage in Python. So many people actually one simple logic if you miss DAR, that's it. You need to by heart these many names. Do you think this is easy? It's difficult. How we know this many names? You cannot remember that. But DAR is a common. So DAR of STR, DAR of list, DAR of tuple. Maybe if you want to see the documentation also, you can use help of STR. It will give you the documentation about these properties. So that is the advantage in Python. Everything just one function if you know, then through that function you'll get everything like here. So now your task is get the functions, okay, sorry, the methods from string. How to get, you can use print dir of str. It will give you all the list of string methods. Dir of str. It will give you all the string methods here. And you try to understand each and every method. Maybe you can use ChatGPT, or maybe you can see some other documentation, that is your wish. But try to create for each and every method one example. For example, here I'll give you some one or two. Let's say there is a upper and there is a lower and there is a split and there is a strip. Okay, will cover this strip, right? Yeah. So upper means what we observed, it will convert into uppercase, right? See now, something x equal to, let's say I'm writing Python script and print x dot upper. Print x dot upper, what is this actually? Python script. Now tell me, we actually discussed already, we already discussed that saying like a string is a immutable. String is immutable, but see x value first initially it's a lower case, but I converted that into uppercase. But how we can say this is immutable? Anyone here? String is immutable, but I converted that uppercase, lowercase into uppercase, right? Any guess? By using method, but do you think it is changed? It is actually changed now in x variable. That means in the object level. Yeah. So try to understand. Immutable means what? We cannot modify in the same reference object. Now check here, print id of x. And then after executing x dot upper, again I'm executing print x id of x. Try to understand. Check this x value. Is it changed or not? Not changed. Python script. This is a reference. Convert it into uppercase just for display purpose. Just for display purpose, not changed in the original object. Original object is still actually what? Lowercase on. And then reference is same. Why it is same? Because same value. It's not changed anything. Only just display purpose it is using this method. It will not modify in the original object. Whatever methods you are using, try to remember whatever methods you are using in the strings just to display, but it will not reflect in original object because it's a immutable. But the same thing if you are using in list, the list methods, and then it will reflect in original object. There is a lot of difference. So string is immutable. You cannot touch anything inside the original object, even if you are using any methods like this. This is just for display purpose. Okay, now I'm actually using y equal to x dot upper here. And then what is y? Y is uppercase now because I created in a separate variable that value. So I can see y is uppercase, but I want to convert this into lowercase. So I can use y dot lower. This is how it is, right? And what is split? Split is more important, especially if anyone Linux. If you are using Python in Linux, then most of the files in Linux it comes with delimiter. For example, if you see etc password file, the etc password file it contains all user information, right? It contains different fields like username, encrypted password, user ID, group ID, GCOS information, default home directory, default shell like that. There will be some 7 fields, but everything with the colon delimiter. If you want to read that, the files using with Python, and if you don't want to print all the fields, field means what? Field is a something based on the delimiter. Like, let's say, for example, I have something like this. Babu colon 101 colon something x colon and then 1001. Let's say the similar way something like Siri colon 102 colon and then something x here and then 1002. So this is something like 2 records I have, but how many fields I have? 4 fields. How we know 4 fields? Based on the delimiter colon. So based on this colon delimiter, there is a field separator. There is a first field, there is a second field, there is a third field, there is a fourth field. Whenever if you want to split based on the field, then we use this split method. As I told, most of the time, if you are working in Linux, most of the files, with the delimiters, it will be like this. Okay, let me take here something x equal to, first I'm just using Python script. So there is a space delimiter actually. And if you see print x dot split, without any delimiter I'm trying to split now. It will be 2 values now based on the space by default it will split. Now it will be in the list format here. So split method if you are using, it will split based on the delimiter single string to multiple strings. The multiple strings now I have Python and then script. As I told now just now user info. Okay. See user info. Let me copy this user info here. Maybe I am using etc password line example. Okay. So this is the one, right? Something, one user information I'm copying here. And then totally, if you can see, there are actually 7 fields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 fields generally for the user information, etc password file. So I want to print first user info. But my expectation is I don't want to print the complete details. Assume this is something like a Babu user. And then I want to print only username from this. But user underscore info, what it prints, it will print everything like this, right? Babu, X, then something complete record. But what is expectation? Only the first field, Babu. So I can split this user underscore info dot split, but based on what? Based on the delimiter colon. So colon delimiter, space is a default delimiter, but I want to split based on the colon now. So print X here. Now what X value will be? X value will be now 7 values with the list format. See, there are 7 values now because we splitted that using with colon. But what is our expectation? I don't want to print the complete record. I want to print only username. That is 0, right? 0 is index number from the list. You can see it will give you only Babu. But is it required this many lines of code? Actually, no. See, for example, see now I just want to use same thing again. And then I'm using print user underscore info dot split based on what? Based on colon. From here, what you need to access 0th index. See what is our expectation, Babu. Even if you read the file, assume there are 1,000 users in the etc password file. I don't want all complete record. I want only username separately. You can apply this split method, but you need to know how to read the complete file. That is different, right? So file handling, we will discuss that. But split method importance we observed here. So likewise, there are methods, right? So you try to see these methods, what exactly these methods are doing. Not required all the methods. Maybe some methods you try to check and then how it actually works. You need to know the concept, how you can use these methods. Strip actually what we are using to trim the white spaces. You check it, how it actually works. Or maybe I'll show you one simple example here. Let's say something I have a X value starts with some space and then Python and then new line. What is strip method is doing? It is actually using to trim the white space. To trim the white space. So white space is actually what? It can be a space, it can be a tab space, it can be a new line like this. Okay, so when I use this strip, now you can see print X. First I'm trying to print X and then let me print this something. I'm trying to print like this and then again, let's see here X dot strip method. What is strip? Strip is actually trimming the white space before and after. So means before the string there is a space, after the string there is a new line. Both it actually deletes now. The first output print X, what it is printing space it is giving. After Python new line it is giving. But when I use strip, it deleted that space at the beginning. It deleted new line at end. Tell me, okay, we do have L strip here. We do have R strip here. L strip is left side how to trim. R strip is only right side. For example, okay, again I'm using the same thing. One with L strip, one with R strip. See the difference now. What is L strip? L strip is actually what only left side it is trimming, but right side there is a new line. See this output, new line it came here. But last one, R strip, left side there is a space, right side new line it deleted. No new line provided now. Okay, so we actually already discussed something like R strip style. For example, if you have something new line, or if you want to remove the new line with print function, what is the syntax? If you want to delete a new line with print function, what is the syntax? What we covered, what we understood? Anyone here? Okay, I have X value, Python. Y equal to something Java. Print X, print Y. Okay, Python and Java it is printing. It's printing Python and Java here. And now I don't want to print Python, Java in the next line. What is the one option here? You can use this R strip. I'm trying to delete new line. or maybe strip or R strip, and then Y dot R strip. Okay, so since we are using this in the IDE, we are not actually getting the expected results. Let me run this here. So Python Day11 underscore script. If you see here, actually correct, okay. I'm trying to delete a new line, but it is not actually, new line is not available, not deleted anything. I'm just giving /n and then /n. There is a new line, now it deleted, and you can see the same output. Let me write the different way here. I'm going to write again, print x, print y. So first time I used strip method. Second time I'm using without strip method. Now I can see the difference. There is a new line, right? There is a new line because /n is giving new line, but I deleted that using with R strip method. But without using strip method, you can also use comma end equal to. Comma end equal to. So what is this actually? If I am using comma end equal to, I'm saying that delete at end new line. Delete at end new line. That is the meaning for this. See this same output. Which means either R strip or end equal to looking same, but the end equal to, it is actually trying to delete a new line whenever if it ends with something new line. But R strip, it also deletes including new line, then if there is any spaces as well, white spaces. There is a difference. Now see this. When actually we use this end equal to, let's say I'm trying to print directly, print hi Python. Print by Python. I want to print these two lines, but not line by line. I want to print these two lines in same line, comma, and equal to. So here I'm just directly writing actually print function, not using any variable. So what is the best practice? You can directly go with what end equal to. You can see hi Python by Python in one line. This is end equal to concept, right? Also, I hope this is clear now how to use string methods. Type yes and type C if it is clear here. Type C if it is clear. And any questions, anyone here? Yeah, you can unmute yourself now. If you have questions, you can unmute and then ask.
సార్ ఒకసారి పై ఎడిటర్ యూజ్ చేసినప్పుడు కొన్ని అయితే సింటాక్స్ ఎర్రర్ లేకపోతే కంపైలేషన్ ఎర్రర్ అని చూపిస్తుంది. బట్ నార్మల్గా డైరెక్ట్ ఇంటరాక్టివ్ మోడ్లో కొన్ని చూపిస్తాయి. అది డిఫరెన్స్ ఎలా సార్ మరి?
ఎక్కడైనా ఎర్రర్ అనేది సేమే వస్తుంది. మీరు ఇంటరాక్టివ్ మోడ్లో వాడినా ఎర్రర్ సేమ్ వస్తుంది. ఐడిలో వాడినా ఎర్రర్ సేమే ఉంటుంది. ఈవెన్ నోట్ ప్యాడ్ ప్లస్ ప్లస్లో రాసినా సేమ్ ఎర్రర్ వస్తుంది.
మీరు ఇందాక ఫస్ట్‌లో చెప్పారు గదా! ఫర్ లూప్ స్టార్టింగ్‌లో.
హ్మ్.
అదొచ్చేసి ఆల్ ఇటరబుల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఓన్లీ యాక్సెప్ట్స్ ఫర్ లూప్
హ్మ్.
అని.
హ్మ్. హ్మ్.
అప్పుడు మీకు ఆ డిఫరెంట్ ఐడీలో మాత్రం డిఫరెంట్ ఎర్రర్ మీకు డైరెక్ట్ చూపిస్తుంది. డైరెక్ట్‌గా అంతే. ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఇటరేటబుల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అని.
ఇక్కడ
బట్
ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసినా అదే వస్తుంది కదా. సి నేను ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇక్కడ ఇంటరాక్టివ్ మోడ్లో రాస్తున్నా ఫర్ ఐ ఇన్ 10 ఇది కదా ఎగ్జాంపుల్.
హ్మ్.
ప్రింట్ ఐ సేమ్ ఎర్రర్ విల్ గెట్. మీరు ఎక్కడ రాస్తున్నారు అనేది కాన్సెప్ట్ సేమ్. సో ఇంట్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ఇటరబుల్. మీరు ఎక్కడ రాసినా ఈ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నోట్ ప్యాడ్లో రాసి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసినా సేమ్ ఎర్రరే మీకు వస్తుంది. ఈ గాట్ ఇట్ కదా.
ఒక్క నిమిషం సార్.
ఇదేనా మీకు క్వశ్చన్ లేకపోతే వేరే?
ఇదే సార్. బట్ నాకు ఇక్కడ డిఫరెంట్‌గా వస్తుంది.
అంటే మీరు మేబీ
బిట్ బాష్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాను.
మీరు షేర్ చేయండి స్క్రీన్.
ఓకే. ఒక్క నిమిషం.
మీరు
మళ్ళీ
ఇన్ టూ
సింటాక్స్
టైమ్స్ ఇచ్చారు కదా. సో ఇన్ ఈజ్ ఆపరేటర్. ఇన్ ఆపరేటర్ని టూ టైమ్స్ ఇచ్చారు. అది
సరే సార్.
వేరియబుల్ నేమ్గా
బై
అర్థం చేసుకోవట్లేదు. రిజర్వ్ కీవర్డ్ కదా. సో అట్లా. సో ఇప్పుడు ఐ ఎట్లా ఇస్తే ఇప్పుడు ఇది యాక్సెప్ట్.
ఓకే. గాట్ ఇట్ సార్. మై మిస్టేక్.
సో అక్కడ చూడండి సింటాక్స్ ఎర్రర్ అంది అంటే మీరేదో తప్పు చేశారు అని మీనింగ్.
సార్.
సో ఆ
ఓకే.
ఎర్రర్ని మనం ఒకసారి రీడ్ చేసి చెక్ చేస్తే సరిపోతుంది. యా.
బై మిస్టేక్
యా
సారీ సార్.
ఓకే. మిస్టేక్స్ రావాలి, వస్తేనే కదా మనకు అర్థమవుతుంది.
ఓకే.
వితౌట్ మిస్టేక్స్ వీ కెనాట్ లెర్న్. యా. సో ఎనీ అదర్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఎనీవన్? ఎన్ని మిస్టేక్స్ వస్తే అంత ప్రాక్టీస్ అయినట్టు. యా.
ఓకే సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
ఎనీ అదర్ క్వశ్చన్స్? ఓకే. సో టుమారో యాక్చువల్ మెయిన్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్కి వెళ్తాం, లిస్ట్ అవన్నీ. సో కొంచెం రివైజ్ చేయండి, లేకుంటే కొంచెం ఇంకా ఎప్పటి నుంచి కొంచెం ప్రాబ్లం అయిపోతుంది మీరు కన్నా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయకపోతే. ఇంకొకటి కొంచెం మేబీ ఐదర్ కొంచెం స్పీడ్ వెళ్ళొచ్చు, లేదా కొంచెం ఎక్స్ట్రా టైం తీసుకోవచ్చు. దాన్ని కూడా రెడీ ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యి ఉండండి. ఓకే. సో సో టుమారో మోస్ట్లీ టపెల్ అండ్ సారీ లిస్ట్ అండ్ టపెల్ కంప్లీట్ చేస్తాం. డే ఆఫ్టర్ టుమారో డిక్షనరీ అండ్ సెట్స్ కంప్లీట్ చేస్తాం. దెన్ వీ విల్ మూవ్ ఇన్ టు ద ఫైల్ హ్యాండ్లింగ్. సో కొంచెం అడ్వాన్స్ లెవెల్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్. ఓకే. సో దట్స్ ఆల్ దెన్ ఫర్ టుడే. మోస్ట్లీ టుడే నేను ఏఐ సెషన్, ఏఐ ఎవరైనా ఉంటే ఏఐ క్లాసెస్, ఏఐ టూల్స్ మోస్ట్లీ ఐ నాట్ టేక్ దట్ సెషన్ టుడే. విల్ కంటిన్యూ టుమారో. యా. థ్యాంక్ యూ.